Hello, leading ladies of the light. How are you doing? It's Myra Medhurst here, coming to you live inside the private Facebook group, The Golden Path Experience. Yes, and if this is the first time you've ever heard me speak on the internet, well, howdy, how are you? It's so nice to meet you. And if you tend to watch me quite a bit, or you're an active member within the group, you can drop a heart. That way I know that you're here, part of the movement. And if you're watching the replay, you can hashtag replay. So, I've had a lot of people reach out to me today, offering help with how to use Facebook stories and Instagram stories. It's so sweet. I'm going to connect with a few of you, and yes, I'm going to learn a new skill, and it feels amazing. And also I've had a lot of private clients reach out with feeling out of sorts, the high frequencies that are coming in, a huge amount of solar flares approaching our planet. And so this can be really destabilizing on our energetic field. And so there's a lot swirling around, but I just want to show you a different way. Show you a different way. And it flows on from the teaching of yesterday about the Trinity and the real power and the magic in the Trinity. So what's happening for humanity, the more we evolve, the more we open up and become aware of all these other faculties that we've got as a human that no one ever told us about. And it's like you're beginning to discover them inside yourself, the ability for you to recognize, I'm feeling, I'm sensing past life stuff. Oh my God, my psychic abilities are turning on and becoming activated. And on and on and on, the exquisite capabilities of a human will begin to open and reveal more and show more. And there's certainly a ton more than what I'm even conscious of and speaking about. But what's become really clear to me is that the simulation of this reality is becoming more and more clear, more and more apparent. And so when I see that and feel that, and I'm going to share a personal experience of something I went through leading up to starting my son in school. It was a really full-on time. But when the simulation of this reality begins to become clearer and clearer, I'm like, okay, where is the control panel? Where is the control panel for us to begin to reshape this reality when it dawns on you that this is literally just a simulation game? And I spoke about the key and the lock last night, and those two objects are completely useless if they're not used together in unification. And it's kind of like going through a level in a computer game and you collect the key. It's like you've got the prize, you're holding it. But to exit that level, it's like you've got to find the lock somewhere to use the key. And that is what completes the lessons and the trainings in that level. And that's what graduates you into the next level. Now, normally as you go up levels in a computer game, you get more and more gifts. It's like you get more credits, you get more power. Your life begins to look more miraculous. Now you've got the ability to fly because it's like you went up the levels of ascension, of growth, of transformation. So, where is the control panel? The control panel is found in the frequency field at your core of who you truly are. That is what sets the frequency standards for your life and your field. So every time you can use your key and your lock together, every time, woo, that's new. I've never had that before. Yay! This teaching is a celebration. I'm literally giving you the control panels to living a miraculous life in the highest frequency standards. So how do we do that? I'm like, yes, Myra, that's all good for you. Don't worry, I have my down days. You've been doing this longer than I have. That's called comparison. That doesn't get you anywhere. That's the wrong energy we want. We want to come back to the best, most foundational core teaching, resetting to our divinity. This is where the control toggle switches are on your reality. So every time I'm awake and I'm aware, and I can marry that with pillar number 2 of surrendering through every center point in the cell of my being. And if I can unify those two, I will connect into the divine portal that I am. I can get to connect in with the core point of who I am on a frequency level. And it is there that you begin to realize, holy moly, I've got to set, well, I choose to set really high frequency standards for myself. From this moment on, I am just raising the bar on my life. If any of the conversations I have with people drop below that, get really negative, they talk about the past, that ain't going to help you. If things are draining on you, situations, places, locations, the internal dialogue that you have with yourself, if any of those drop below the frequency standard of which you set for yourself, then you're going to get those sorts of results. And this reality is a mirror. It is a direct mirror of your ability to keep connecting within and realizing that you are the divine creator. That is you coming in communion with your God self. Every time you can pierce that portal, yes, I've now got the control panel for setting the switches on my reality. And if you're trying to change something that is in your existing environment, it's too late. You don't change it there. That got created in the field through your frequency, your internal thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions in the past. And it feels so counterintuitive at the start. It feels like you're actually not doing something. It feels like you're not taking action. You're not addressing the issue that you're uncomfortable with in your own life. But these new earth frequencies are going, no, treat this as a divine reflection and mirror of internally what is going on. And if you can pierce that portal and sit with the grandness and the magnificence, knowing that you are the creator and you actually get to set the frequency tone to your life. And then watch miraculous things begin to respond to that. And then what usually arises for the human race, we are so extraordinary, we are so magnificent, then we feel, I'm not worthy of that amount of light. Who am I to have a joyful life? I'm not worthy of that amount of flooding my field with that much love and that much peace. I actually feel good. What? Yes. And so then in comes the worthy piece. We feel the immortal human is not worthy. And we put that on the pedestal rather than meeting it eye to eye, heart to heart. The very thing you are meeting is your creator. The very thing you are meeting is yourself in the unified field. And then that is where we begin to reshape our reality. This is what I call the control panels. To me, this is like the motherboard. This is the motherboard with all the toggles and switches and volume dials that we can adjust our reality with. But we're living so chaotically, responding to the external stimuli. and not powerfully just taking a step back, going, "Hoi, that's a bit nuts. I actually don't want to play that game anymore." It's okay to say that to yourself. That's amazing. That game sucks. I'm done with it. It's old. I actually don't want to play that simulation game anymore. And you're like, okay, well, what do I actually want? How do I actually want to live my life from an energetic point of view first? Okay, maybe I'll just come back into my center and pierce the veil again and kind of meet the Creator and hold that frequency, that I could actually meet myself in the exquisite, magnificent, unlimited potentiality that I have in all of my multidimensional aspects. Could I meet myself there? So I've had a tangible experience of this, and it came in a really, I did not see this coming kind of way. They call them left field. I call that left field. Did not see that one coming, but I've been working with my mentor. I've got several mentors to keep me sharply on my own game. And we were doing a lot of inner child work. It's just where I wasn't even expecting that, actually. I thought we were going to work on a lot of other pieces, but it's like, nope, this needed to come up and be readdressed again and revisited. I'm like, damn, I've done this one so many times before. So there's judgment, yeah, and that is what can actually get in the way of us just actually visiting that in our purity and in our essence again. And there was a very strong need in me to revisit the town of my childhood. And I left the town of my childhood in an abrupt, quick way. I still very much enjoyed living there. I didn't feel complete. And just through a set of circumstances, we left quickly as a family. And so the need for me to revisit this town and take my time and not be rushed and like smell the air. It's in far north Queensland, Cape York Peninsula. There's a distinct smell and climate, and I was even reading this beautiful book that the Aboriginal children wrote me as I left, and it moved me deeply because the last page said, it makes me so emotional, but the last page said, "Please remember us." And I left when I was 6, so it's been a really over 30 years. I've not gone back to the town that I grew up in. I had so much fun in my childhood. So this was all surfacing with a coach that I'm working with. And I'm like, man, I've looked at this from every angle before. And I know a lot of women in this group. It's like we've done all the healing and clearing and personal development work on this. But if you watch the Golden Path Spiral, it revisits certain points from a higher and lighter perspective. And there was childhood trauma in that time of my life. And I needed to revisit that trauma now as a mother. Feels very different as a mother to revisit this story and this place and this incident that I went through. So this is all leading up to starting Amos into school. Amos is now approaching the age of 6, which is the age that my trauma began. And I know this can be a trigger when your children reach an age of your own trauma. It can be a trigger again because you see it from different eyes. You're like, wow, it's so young, and these things happen to me. It's a lot. And then I was also starting Amos in school, which was a trigger for me because in my trauma story, I was watched walking to and from primary school. I'm like, all of this is peaking in this incredible crescendo over like 4 to 6 weeks. This was like building up to this moment. And then a sister within the community shares at the same time an article about the submerged continent of Atlantis and this history around the region at which I grew up. And so that then began to layer into this story of this region. And I have many recalls of many past lives, but two of them are like the loudest for me. And they have to do around the region at which I grew up in my childhood. And it has to do with the regions of Papua New Guinea, Vanuatu, New Caledonia, this Pacific and Oceanic region on the north of Australia. I have a lot of recall around this part of the land. So these stories are all freaking layering and compiling the week that I start Amos into school. And I am triggered out of my mind. I literally had to drop Amos off at school and then return home and just be in the fetal position and hold myself in bed. I just needed to hold the frequency. I just needed to witness this and be okay and let it travel through my body without judging it. Who cares that this stuff is going on? It's exquisite. It's all by design. It's all come up for review and to teach me something about myself. And then I got the greatest gem. And I've heard about this before, but I've never actually had the tangible experience of it. But when you have your own 6-year-old self and your current self running parallel simultaneously, your child's life now is running as a storyline on this, and then your Atlantean past is another story lifetime running parallel. I was literally traversing 4 stories simultaneously. One through my son, one through my inner child, one from my current Myra self, and the other was from an Atlantean past. When you begin to feel that, the most incredible thing began to happen. I became less concerned about the content of my life. So what? The trauma happened. Not to negate it. This is like an evolutionary step. I've spent years caring a lot about what happened to me as a child. So it's not to negate the process. There's just an evolutionary step and a gift. This gift that I received when the contents of the story, those 4 stories stacked and integrated and dropped into my being, the content of the story, I didn't give a damn about it. I didn't give a damn. What became more miraculous was the design of the exquisite, intricate, mind-blowing author of whoever put all of that together to make all those stories sync up. And I'm like, who is that? This is beyond the comprehension of the human mind. And that is why it is so important for us to keep piercing this reality and step into the true core frequency of who we are. Because at those each moments, you are resetting back to your divinity. You are resetting back to creator status in your story. And like, the contents doesn't matter. The storyline actually didn't matter. What mattered more to me was the awe of how the heck did all that get put together? And therein lies your multi-dimensional field. We all have this capability. All of us on the planet are multi-dimensional by our very nature. And so, yes, Myra, you've told me that I'm multi-dimensional, so what? What do you do with that? What you do with that is hopefully you can get to a place of when you realize that this is just a simulation. This is just a play. It's just a computer game. And if you can keep meeting and putting yourself into fields of high frequency standards, you will keep yourself tethered to your divine core. And I don't give a damn about what I do, how I present, what form I share this message in. That actually doesn't matter. I don't care that I'm married and that I have a son. It doesn't mean that I love less. It means that I'm freed up from this reality. And what I genuinely care about is feeling good. Just allow yourself, please, to feel good. Do things that create joy in your life. Create just for the fun of it. Create and share your message and your truth for the sheer fun of it. And if anything falls outside the parameters of the standards that you set yourself, these are frequency standards. Do not give your attention there. Go back within. Pillar number 2 with pillar number 1 merged. And so here I was holding a key. I'd done so much work on my childhood. I'm like, I'm holding the key. Where? I'm like walking aimlessly around with the key. I'm like, how do I use it? Where the heck do I put this thing? I was just like, I'll just keep it in my pocket. I'll just keep it in my pocket until I know what the heck to do with this thing. I'm looking around in my reality for a door. Like, where's the lock? Where's the lock? Got to find the lock. And I'm like, it's just symbology for all of the faculties we have within. Pillar number 1 merged with pillar number 2. Resetting to your divinity, you pierce that portal and you sit in the portal of creativity. I hope some of this has reached the leading ladies of light. So this week, for the rest, just do things that make you feel good. Health, body, exercise. Hang out with awesome people that have incredible conversations around this nature. If you can't find it, get active in the group, find it with a friend, find it at a community, a live event, find it online. Just keep yourself plugged into this high frequency field. Yes, it may destabilize you as you're beginning to learn to integrate and embody more and more of this, but the best thing you can do is hold your body to the cleanest you can. And if you need to curl up in the bed in fetal position for a day or 2, so be it. No one has to know. Who cares? It's part of the dualistic nature. It's the golden path where you revisit these themes. It's like climbing a mountain. People in this patriarchal system, like this is the disease a bit. We want to climb the mountain like, I'm like, just drop me on a helicopter and like, drop me on the apex, the summit of the mountain, please. And like, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way because you haven't done the inner work. And so the internal energetic architecture of who you are as a human being is not stabilized. You'll get to the summit, you'll take a breath and you'll cark it. You haven't adjusted your system to the altitude. And so the safest way to climb a mountain is you go around it in circles. And each time you just take a little higher gradient. And this is why you revisit certain things, certain past grievances or themes or like core Akashic disturbances that you've got. You just keep revisiting them from a higher and lighter perspective, more refined, subtler energies, more refined as we keep climbing this mountain. And honestly, the summit is on the other side of the veil anyway. The summit is when you die and you return back and actually truly, fully unify back with your creator. I'm just showing you how to do the death process by still living and breathing. How can you pierce through the veil and be unified back with your creator? Over and over and over again. And this is what we are training for. This is actually a frequency you need to hold in the new earth, fifth dimensional and beyond. I mean, this is well beyond the fifth dimensional living. This is like 7th, 9th, 13th dimensional living. But hey, let's start now. Let's practice now. Let's get the thermostat in our system equipped to be able to hold that frequency, to be able to hold those upgrades. Hey, juicy conversation. So the power of the Trinity, merging those two and piercing the veil, resetting to divinity. I'll come in another Facebook Live and I'll actually take a class on that. I'll just show you that practice. It is a foundational piece. It's a foundational piece that is going to serve you well. I love you so much, ladies. Have a brilliant rest of your day, of your evening. If you've got any questions or comments, please share this. Please share this with another sister or tag them here. That would mean the world to me. If there's any value or benefit in these teachings, please help another sister as well. I love you, and remember, follow your golden path.